Hello everybody, this is Jason Heires. I've been doing the essential album reviews. I'm going to try to do a little other thing with videos, and this is going to be more of like a workshopping for me trying to record some ideas. I've been throwing around, I've had these songs that basically I've had almost an album worth of songs that I've been kind of fiddling with, but I haven't really completed. And and I'm going to show you this particular song. My idea is I'm going to do something that I'm going to call. Originally, I had an idea to call it this album "The Author of Strange Histories," with me being the author. But the more I think about it, the more I would like to do just call it "Strange History." And even I would almost think that I would like to do like a series of EPs, and the EP would be Strange History Volume 1, and then like a chapter name, and then the Strange History Volume 2, so on and so forth, and just kind of go through that way. Now, I have a track that I've been starting to work on that is currently titled The Holiday Song. Now, this was written before the whole COVID-19 kind of came into a crisis, but it was written with the retail store workers in mind. And it's kind of supposed to be a kind of a take on consumerism, and about like people's place in the modern economy, which seems even more relevant with the COVID situation. But you know, it's kind of a. There's one break part where it goes, put the display up, and tear it down. That was totally meant to be the idea. And every day is preparation for the next holiday. So, you know, like in the retail store world, there's always the next holiday that they prep the sales for. You know, there's Easter, there's St. Patrick's Day, and then there's Easter, and then there's, you know, Mother's Day, and then there's whatever else is next, you know. And there's always something that they're prepping for the next holiday, and then there's Halloween, and then there's Christmas, and then there's Valentine's Day, and so on and so forth. It's like an endless cycle of preparing for holidays. And that's kind of what this song is trying to kind of get across a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily say this is like one of the best songs I've ever written, but it's an interesting song. And I kind of have some rough tracking here that I'm going to go through with you a little bit. And we'll kind of see how this goes. It's going to be a little bit hairy with the camera work, but I will probably splice this stuff together and try to do better video editing, which is not always my strong suit. I don't really have like a really strong editing software. Honestly, I'm just using the Photos app that's built into Windows 10, and that's what I've been using to make these videos with the whole time. Alright. So I am going to hit stop in just a couple of moments, and then I will get you over to the mixer, and I'll play a little bit of the song, and we'll kind of see what develops. So here's the track itself, and I'm trying to get you as much of the screen on there as I can. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see. But there's 9 tracks on this album. 1 track is currently muted. That's the one that's in gray. The one that's in blue is a MIDI-based track. The rest of them are all green. They're live tracks. And I don't usually do more than about 10 or 12 tracks on any song I record. I don't really like to do a ton of different takes. So this usually is a pretty good example of the usual way that I work when I record a song. I'm not a big guy that cares about perfection. I just like to get the basic idea across, even though I do get more fussy about having it sound good in the first place as I progress. But that's like a battle that you can always fight, where you can always be better and it can always sound better. There's kind of a point where you just have to give up and say, well, this is as good as it's going to sound, and just move forward. But, you also want to put the effort in, and you do want it to sound as good as possible. Now, I run off a dual monitor system. I use a program called Mixcraft Pro. So this is the view with the tracking, and then I run the mixing board on, I undock the mixing board, and I run the mixing board on the other screen. So here's the mixer that comes with the program. And so I have all the tracks. Now you notice that these tracks are specifically labeled in terms of what they are. Sometimes they could use to be updated, but I actually label the tracks. If I don't label them myself, they'll just be labeled as generic information. So that's why I make sure to label the drums or the tracks. So, and basically, for the most part, this is a pretty straightforward song. It's kind of a straightforward sort of song that I would record, except I do have a part with I have these two tracks in the middle there that are two backing vocal tracks. You notice they look very similar to one another. And then there's just right above it, there's a solo track. Now, when you have a track and basically you're not using everything, the best thing to do is to mute the track, even though I didn't really do that on this one. But that way you don't have the noise. If you're recording from the other track, the noise doesn't come in on the other track. It's usually especially useful in like vocal tracks because you have a live microphone that's running and you can pick up some noise and things like that in the background. But obviously I wasn't that worried on that because I didn't do that on either one of these tracks. So even though, to show you what that looks like, if you look right down here, you'll see there's this one note that I did totally mute out because it was a missed note. I played it wrong, and instead of just redoing the track, I just muted that note all the way out. You can see, because you can see the little dots in the line in the middle, totally cut it out. So that's me basically deciding to edit that particular note out because that note was a miss. Alright, so even though I've made a lot of progress as a drummer, I still really have found that I'm not a consistent enough drummer to be able to play my own drum tracks yet. So this is a MIDI-based drum track, and basically I give myself 4 bars to just have empty space at the beginning of the track. Since I'm multi-tracking everything myself, it gives me a chance to get ready to play the track, and it gives me time before it starts playing. So, like, I always leave, like, 4 extra bars in the beginning that are just basically an empty, kind of like what you would call a click track. Even though I can't really play with, like, a true click track very well, but this is just, it's literally just a tick, 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 tick for 4 bars. So let me show you the beginning of it. You can see it's just the same beat over and over again. So let me play you the drum track by itself, and we'll watch it as it goes through. So, alright, we didn't start right at the beginning of the track, but let me get you back there for a second. So this is the very beginning of the track. You hear it's just... This is just like the core basic beat, and then you have a little, that's a drum fill to transfer, like that's probably the end of the line. So that gives you an idea how the drums work by itself. Alright, so let me play you a little bit of the whole track so you can hear it all together with all the pieces. And I'll talk about what I kind of did with this a little bit and things that I feel like I could still work on. So sorry if this steady work is not great, but here comes the drum, here comes the whole track. And here's what the mixer looks like. You can see it's pretty loud in the mixer because it's pushing the red in the master track, which is this one right there. There's the lead vocal track in the middle of the screen. One thing I'm not super happy about yet is I kind of wish this track, this distorted rhythm guitar track, would sound a little bit better. And I may have to re-record this yet. Because it's not quite clean enough. It's a little bit too muddy and takes up too much space in the composition. As for the other rhythm guitar track, I came up with this track. It has an effect on it to give it kind of a special sound and add some extra color. And I kind of like this track, even though it could be mixed in a little bit better. Now this track right here is the guitar solo. And it could be a little bit cleaner. But when it comes in with everything else, it kind of has a nice chaotic sound. So that's kind of the core elements of this particular song. This one I feel is getting close to being to the point where I could actually present it to other people and put it out there mixed as it is. There are a few things I'd like to fix on it, but it's definitely not without merit. So, in conclusion, this is kind of the way that I work with my studio process. I do a lot of these trackings. I don't use really fancy gear. I don't believe in a lot of overdubs. I pretty much like to just get a take that sounds reasonably decent within about 2 to 5 takes, and if I am not getting it, I'm not getting it. I don't mind a little bit of dirtiness and rawness in my tracks because I think it adds human character. I think one of the biggest flaws in modern studio production today is everything sounds too perfect. And it's, I can manipulate all of this stuff in such a way to make it all sound absolutely perfect. But the rawness and the humanness of it I think, is an important element. Now, I am sure that there are plenty of people that if I turn this over into their able hands, they could make this sound a lot better and make it sound more professional than what I do. And that's totally fine. And you guys may wonder why I end up doing all the tracking myself. And the main reason for that is just because it's easier to find the time for me to do it myself. While there are definitely better drummers and bass players and guitar players and, just about anybody, singers, you could find anybody out there that has more talent at any individual instrument than I do. That's not that hard. I'm beginning to realize that what talent I have is okay. But I am definitely not like a super genius musician by any stretch of the imagination. But I think that the reason why I do these videos, or that like I do the album reviews and things like that, is I think I can communicate ideas to people who aren't necessarily music, people that appreciate music, but maybe they don't totally understand it, and I can give them a broader understanding of the work and the idea that goes in behind creating these kinds of things. And if I can do that for people, if I can help them appreciate what they're listening to more, that is really kind of my goal. So I hope you enjoy this video. We'll see how it comes out. Thank you guys, and have a great day. Bye.